Okay, so this is everything I read in 2024 and what I rated it. So, first off, I read my own two books, Summer's Revenge and Winter's Wrath. This was for a read along that I did, and then I had to proofread this one before I published it in March, so I read both of those. 4 stars, 5 stars. Obviously, I'm biased, they're my own books, but I do believe this is the best book I've ever written. YA fantasy if you're interested. Up next, I had to, of course, read The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I believe I gave this 5 stars. It was amazing from start to finish. I was a little skeptical at first because it's Jameson and Grayson's point of views, not Avery, who of course is the main character in the main trilogy, but it was really refreshing, and honestly, Jameson had me on the edge of my seat the entire time because I was like, oh my god, please care about your safety. But anyway, definitely read this if you love the original trilogy. After that, I had a bit of a hard time with The City of Dusk by Tara Sim. I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. I was really bummed about it, but the longer I think about it, the more I think that I might have been a bit too harsh on this book. It's obviously very thick. It's adult high fantasy? It's adult fantasy anyway, and it's really intense, and it took a while to get to the action. I kept waiting for something to happen. The characters were a bit annoying, and I was just like all over the place with how I felt about this book. But if I really stop and think about it, it was pretty crazy at the end there, and I think I will continue the series and maybe give it another chance. I think it's just that it's been so long since I read a fantasy of this caliber that I found it boring and a little bit dense. But yeah, I think I will continue with the series. Next up, we had another winner with Cling Clang Gloria by Jenny Sauer. This is the second book in her The War on Terrace trilogy, with the first book being Work to Goo. If you don't know Jenny, she writes soft sci-fi fairy tale retellings, all set in the same world and following interconnected characters. So this is a King Thrushbeard and Maid Maylene retelling. The first book in the trilogy is a Cinderella retelling. And they're kind of like interconnected, like it's a trilogy, but the main character from the first book is not the main character of this book. I won't spoil whether or not they meet, but yeah, this was amazing. Again, I was a little upset at first because obviously the main characters switch, but Jenny's writing is just so fun, so whimsical, so deep and important with like the life lessons and the mental health rep. So definitely give this series a try if you haven't. And from there, I was reading this nonfiction book for about half the year because it's hard for me to read nonfiction. It takes a while to get into it. But I did finish Beyond Order by Jordan B. Peterson in July, I believe it was, and I rated it 5 stars, same as its predecessor, 12 Rules for Life. It's not for everyone, I definitely will admit that, but I love his writing. I love the way he speaks, the metaphors, the lessons that he teaches. And honestly, it's weird, but these 2 books gave me a better appreciation of God than any religious material I've ever read. So take with what you will, 5 stars. And then, around and in between reading that, I finally finished reading the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. If you like dystopian and fantasy and you haven't read this, what are you doing with your life? It's just super fun. I love the dystopian aspects. I love the magical aspects. I love the characters. Not a huge fan of the romance, just because it is a love triangle and I'm not big on those. And I found that at the end I wasn't satisfied with the way the romance did play out. But the twists in the series are incredible. And like, just look at the sheer thickness, the sheer amount of pages of this story. Non-stop action, incredible characters. Yeah, definitely read it. I think I gave them all 4 stars, I believe. Because I'm still salty about how it ended. Then after that, I got The Grandest Game for my birthday, which is the direct sequel to The Brothers Hawthorne, which I had talked about previously. I also gave this 5 stars. The Brothers Hawthorne is actually kind of a bridge book between the 2 trilogies, and then this is technically the first book in the second trilogy. and it follows a couple of different POV characters, and I'm not going to spoil who those are because if you haven't read the other books, you won't really know. But yeah, incredible from start to finish. I don't know how long it took me to read this, but it wasn't very long. So yeah, 5 stars. Then after that, I dove into a reread of these 2 books, which are book 1 and 2 in a trilogy, so that I could finally read the final book in the trilogy, Fury Rising, which I don't own. Actually, a coworker lent it to me, which kind of prompted me to get going on this. But 4 stars, 4 stars, and I believe the 3rd book I gave 4 stars as well. Incredible post-apocalyptic fiction with the variant on like zombies, but not quite. They don't have, they can still think for themselves, but basically like their morals are gone. And it follows 4 teenagers who are trying to survive in this now ravaged world where nothing makes sense and everybody's trying to kill you. But amazing, really amazing. If you like teenage post-apocalyptic fiction, definitely give it a go. And then after that, I read my second favorite book of the year, The Grandest Game being my first, The Gathering. This is a small town murder mystery with vampires, and I'm not really sure I need to say anything more. It 100% delivers on that premise. Really cool, relatable, unique characters, non-stop plot twists, and it kept me guessing until the very end. So definitely pick this up if you like vampires, murder mysteries, small town, any of that, all of that, none of it. Just read this. And my last book of the year, which I technically haven't finished at the start of this video, is Thief, Acolyte, Consort by James Robert Page. He is a fellow indie author, and this is a fantasy book following a girl as she finds herself in a new city where they have this thing called a Regicide Festival. And I'll let you fill in the blanks on that. But it's super quirky, super fun, super lighthearted. It's a little bit strange, but that's kind of the point of the book. But I think it'll probably be in between the 3 to 4-star range by the time I finish it. So yeah, thank you for watching. And comment below what your favorite books of 2024 were.